everybody, welcome to Wild Boy Movies, the place to talk movies, and today we're going to be reviewing Mr. Peabody and Sherman, a movie that I'm pretty sure has been forgotten. Right now I'm going to have some information up on screen for you to read, like director, release date, MPAA rating. All of that will be on the screen right now for you to read. So be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and go ahead and comment down below your thoughts on this movie. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the pros. Alright, starting off, I want to talk about the rules involved with time travel in this movie, because yes, this is a time travel movie. And they have some interesting rules set in place. And basically the rules are you can't go to a time where you existed, or else the timeline will completely break. That was such an interesting idea that they elaborated on and actually showed what would happen if one person who went to another time to where that same person existed in. That was just the most interesting part of the movie. I also gotta go ahead and praise the main cast of the movie because they do a great job in this movie. Mr. Peabody, played by Ty Burrell, who you might know from Modern Family, does this great job as an overprotective father while also being this intellectual genius. Sherman, voiced by Max Charles, who you might know as young Peter Parker from the Amazing Spider-Man movies, also does a great job as this kid dealing with the issues of being raised by a dog. Who's also dealing with this bully in school, Penny, played by Ariel Winter, who you might know from the Disney Junior series Sophia the First. Does this great job as this bully who turns into this good person by the end of the story. Also gotta go ahead and praise Mr. Peabody's internal thinking for situations escaping the guillotine. It was moments that really captivated me because we saw what Mr. Peabody was thinking in order to avoid this situation. It's that attention to detail that I like to see within movies. I also gotta go ahead and praise the animation for this movie because, like I said, this movie came out in 2014, and the animation for that time with not only this movie but others like How to Train Your Dragon 2 looked very good for the time and definitely resonated with how animation continued to evolve throughout the following 10 years since Mr. Peabody and Sherman released. I also gotta praise this movie's perfect balance of seriousness mixed with lighthearted moments. You do have these serious moments of Mr. Peabody going through the child custody of this human kid, and you also got lighthearted moments funny gags throughout the movie, and all of it just blends together into this perfect combination of seriousness and lighthearted moments. Also gotta go ahead and praise the backstory on how Mr. Peabody and Sherman actually met, cause it kind of parallels how Mr. Peabody felt when he was just a puppy, no one wanting to adopt him. So when he finds this abandoned baby in an alley, he decides to adopt the young Sherman and take him under his wing and raise him as his own. I felt had this interesting dilemma, could a dog, if it was an anthropomorphic creature, raise a human child? And lastly, I gotta praise the relationship between Sherman and Penny because their relationship starts off very rocky with Penny making fun of Sherman because his dad is a dog. But throughout the course of the plot and having to go through these different time periods, the two grow closer and become close friends to where by the end of the movie, Penny and Sherman are now friends. So yeah, there's a lot to enjoy about this movie, but there are some things holding it back to being an all-time greatest DreamWorks movie of all time, leading me to my cons. Starting off, I gotta say, like, the Trojan War scene where our characters travel back to the times when the Trojan War happened was, like, my least favorite part of the movie. Like, to me, it just felt like that it was just added, like, to increase the runtime. It's still, like, a fine scene that I can sit through and just deal with, but it's just, like, my least favorite part of the movie. And then lastly is, like, the very end of the movie when after the timeline is broken and fixed, we go back to all the times that we visited, and we see that all the modern stuff, and we see that all the stuff that we know from modern day is now back at these old time periods. Like, I don't know, I just kind of did not like that, because it kind of like would have like this Mandela effect, like to where something like taser guns existed in like the 18th century, or even people in Egypt wearing and showing off their New York merchandise. I could kind of excuse this if this had the logic of time travel that was explained in Avengers Endgame, but that kind of like could be like a headcanon. So yeah, that ending like kind of did not work for me. But still, putting aside those cons, I really enjoyed this movie and consider it to be one of my favorite DreamWorks movies ever made. Not like in the top 3, but definitely in like the top 10s of all DreamWorks movies that have been made. So for my scorecard for Mr. Peabody and Sherman, I'm gonna give the movie 4.5 stars for the star ratings. For the out of 10 score, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. For the percentage, I'll give it a 90%. And with a grade of A-, with my final verdict being entertaining with a great story. This is a DreamWorks movie that I highly recommend you give a watch, because I think you'll have a fun and entertaining time with the movie. But that is my review for Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and go ahead and leave me your thoughts about the movie down in the comments section. And be sure to keep an eye out for my next movie review. But until then, have a great day.